Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Blade Bias. Coming at you in the Rudolph socks, which I'm realizing are leaving little fuzzies all over my carpet. Hopefully it's worth it. And the day after Christmas, if you're watching this on the day that it comes out, I hope your Christmas was merry and bright. I hope you got what you wanted, and I hope that you got to spend it with who you wanted to spend it with. As cliche as it sounds, getting to see friends, family, and loved ones and spend time with them during the holidays is genuinely one of my favorite things about this time of year. And I hope that you had a wonderful holiday. If you got something Balisong related that you're really excited about, let me know in the comments. I genuinely do enjoy hearing about that kind of stuff, especially this hobby related stuff that people are excited about that they got. Today, I wanted to reflect a little bit on 2025. It was a year that I had many predictions for. I was very confident at how I thought this year was going to go. And to sum it all up in one sentence, I was wrong about everything. And if I could describe 2025 in one sentence, or in one word even, I would say, meh. Now, this is just my perspective, and I realize that I have a pretty vastly different perspective than most people in this hobby. So leave yours down in the comment section below. I do genuinely want to hear it. But I feel like to say that 2025 was just an amazing problem-free year for the Balisong community would be covering up some of the hiccups that we did experience. This was a year where we saw a lot of flippers moving on. We saw content creators moving to different things. We saw makers struggling kind of as they have in previous years. We've seen makers not be able to survive any longer. We've seen makers change their business model to be able to survive longer. And while I always do say that the Balisong community is nowhere near the levels that it was before the quarantine boom that kind of brought so many people into the hobby, including myself, I would say that this is probably some of the rockiest times that we've had since that period. But to then turn around and say that 2025 was awful would also be kind of a lie, I think. So I feel like 2025 Balisong related just ends up being a year that kind of just doesn't have its own identity. It simply carried on the traditions of years past. I would say that 2024 was the year of the budget Balisong, or the year of the beginner Balisong. We saw excellent new releases like the Cheese into that space, and we even saw the birth of a brand new price range, somehow even lower than the one that the Vulp really popularized a few years ago. The release of the Canyon marks the beginning of that kind of $40-ish range of Balisongs that we have now come to know. And 2025 has really just expanded on all of that. We've seen the release of the Impulse, which in my opinion is one of the most solid, least gimmicky, least caveat-filled Balisongs in that cheaper price point. And we've even seen some excellent releases from other companies in the higher beginner or budget price point, with releases like the Refault or the Kite AL that I'm flipping currently. But none of that is exclusive to 2025. I feel like that all started in 2024 and is just carrying on from then. Similarly, if we go way, way more specific, you see companies like Squid discontinuing some of their products, like the Swordfish, which you will see me cry no tears for, to be completely honest with you, which continues on their trend of kind of refining what they're making and making sure that they are making the best things that they can make. You've got Machine-Wise continuing to release new products in its brand new sort of brand image with its new designs, its new mindset on quality and design language and all of this stuff. And you've seen content continue to really expand in terms of how much content there is, which brings me to why I was so wrong about 2025. I came in with a lot of predictions. One of my biggest and most strongly felt predictions was that 2025 was going to be the year of high quality Balisong content. And then I watched over the course of the year as most of the people who I were sure were going to help push that forward either moved on to something else that they found worked better, or scaled back their production, didn't release as much as they typically do, or just stopped making videos entirely or moved to head-mounted stuff, whatever the case may be, including myself. I actually had a Balisong-related New Year's resolution to, quote, revive my main channel without doing Balisong reviews. And to say that I succeeded at that would be a stretch. I did release a Balisong-related video that wasn't a review, but to say that I revived my channel off of that would be a massive stretch. So I'm even guilty in this one. And I say guilty. It ultimately doesn't matter because Balisong content is at an all-time high. You can take most Balisongs and look them up on YouTube, and chances are you'll find 1 or 2 videos that you've never seen before about that Balisong. So in terms of quantity, it's really greater than it's ever been. But my prediction was specifically like high quality, non-head mounted stuff. And we have very much so continued to be a head mounted focused community in terms of our content, which isn't a bad thing. We've already discussed this in a previous video. I'm not going to rehash that whole thing. I am personally happy to see the community kind of find out what works, find its voice, and stick with that. I think that's a pretty cool thing. But yeah, my predictions were pretty much all horrendously wrong. So that was cool. But overall, 2025 has just been kind of meh to me. Can't say it's bad. Can't say it's great. Can't even say it has its own identity. It's just continuing the things that we've seen in previous years. Even highlights like Blade Show ended up just kind of being on par with the previous year rather than what they usually are, which is way better than the previous year. And most of my highlights this year had nothing to do with the Balisong community. Some of the most fun I've had was going on that trip to Georgia that I did a few months ago, which had the benefit of us recording, the podcast with Brandon and then the sound challenge and the mini podcast with Pyro. And that was all amazing. But that trip wasn't supposed to be Balisong focused. It was just a trip that I went on to hang out with these people outside of Balisongs that had the bonus of allowing us to record a thing or two. But those things ultimately took up less than like 5% of that trip. So while that trip is a massive highlight for me, to say that that's a Balisong related one would be pushing it a little bit, I think. In 2026, I don't know. I think it could go either way. I have reason to believe it will be better, but I also have reasons to believe that we'll just kind of continue and it'll be a little worse or about the same. Not really making a name for itself with any crazy developments or anything like that. I think that 2026, it could go either way, man. I don't have any crazy predictions this year. Maybe I'll think of some. But ultimately, 2025 just kind of fell flat for me. I don't know about you. Let me know what you think. Maybe, I'm sure for a lot of people, it was the best year yet. For some people, it's your first year, so you can't really compare. But from the perspective of like YouTube and everything going on, and my general interest in releases and all that stuff, I think it has been just one of the more lackluster years that I've been a part of the Balisong community. As far as 2026 goes, I'll explain this more in a later video, or I'll bring this up again, I should say, in a later video. But video uploads should be normal until the end of the year. Starting January 1st, you're going to see this channel go dark for a little bit because I'm going to take a pretty decent chunk of January away from Balisongs, away from YouTube. I will be back, I promise, but I'm just going to take a little break, especially with how busy December has been with life and Balisong stuff. I usually take January off anyway. Not all of it, but some of it. And this year it just kind of coincides with the trip that I have planned. So I'm going to enjoy that. If this channel goes dark immediately after the new year, then I wish you a happy new year. But again, I will bring this up in a later video. And I also just want to subtly shout out the Bally Awards happening in 2 days from now, December 28th, Sunday, 7 p.m. EST. I hope you can make it there for us to truly recap 2025 in terms of some of the greater achievements in the hobby. But until then, I want to thank all of you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.